The million-dollar question is, why didn't France attack? But even this wasn't the biggest failure. The most critical failure wasn't in the factories or in the concrete fortresses. It was inside the minds of the leaders themselves.
The French didn't lose because they were surprised. They lost because they had all the right information, all the intelligence they needed, and they flat out refused to believe it.
And this gets us into a really important psychological trap called cognitive dissonance. What happened was the French High Command had built this perfect little picture in their heads of how the war was going to go. And any piece of information, any piece of intelligence that didn't fit that picture, they just threw it out. They decided it was just noise or a German trick or that it was simply impossible.
The entire French military leadership convinced themselves that the Ardennes, with all its hills and thick forests, was totally impassable for a modern tank army. And, well, it was also completely, disastrously wrong.
This, right here, is the absolute core of the failure. On one hand, they knew German forces were packed into the Ardennes. But on the other hand, they believed it just had to be a trick, a feint to draw their troops away. Because their own rulebook, their own doctrine, said a main attack through there was impossible. They just couldn't wrap their heads around the idea that an enemy would be reckless enough to even try it. And for 2 full days, pretty much all of Germany's armored divisions, the very spearhead of their entire invasion, was stuck, literally stuck, in a bumper-to-bumper traffic jam on a few tiny forest roads. We're talking a 250-kilometer-long traffic jam, probably the biggest one in history up to that point. The entire German invasion force was a sitting duck. They were completely vulnerable. The French could have just shattered the whole thing from the air before it even got to the front lines. And their own reconnaissance pilots saw it. They saw this incredible weakness, and they reported it up the chain of command. So the million-dollar question is, why didn't France attack? The French High Command just couldn't process what their own eyes, their own pilots were telling them. They couldn't accept that this incredibly vulnerable, frankly stupid-looking traffic jam could possibly be the main German attack. Their own assumptions had made them completely blind.